My name is Rich Arriaga, and my mentorship in this program is on corporate leadership. So I have a clinical role at Pfizer. It's not a training role, but I do a lot of coaching and mentoring there. And so in our commitment to serve you, none of the mentors will be making any direct offers for you to buy anything from us. However, if you connect with me or any of our mentors, all of our mentors have phenomenal programs, as you already know, and we encourage you certainly to at least connect with me or us on social platforms. So you can reach me at my website, richarriaga.com, or on Facebook or on LinkedIn. So today what I want to talk about is strategies for creating good habits and eliminating bad habits, and share some takeaways from two books that I have used in my masterminds for the last 2 years. And these books have had a profound impact on me and my lifestyle. And so I'm sure you've heard of at least one of them, that is Atomic Habits by James Clear, and the second one is The Power of Habits by Charles Duhigg. So the question is, do you ever feel like you're going through life but not actually getting closer to becoming the person that you want to become? And so you say to yourself that this year will be different. This year you will have better results. But when the year is over, not much is different than last year. And then you wonder, what is wrong with me? You beat yourself up because you think that you lack discipline, you lack willpower, persistence, and grit. And so I'm here to tell you that while all of those things are important, the science does not support it as the primary reason. The question is, how do you become the person you have been dreaming of becoming? How do you break free from your bad habits and become more intentional about creating the outcomes that you desire? And I believe that the answer is by creating better habits. You see, we want to change our bank accounts, our situations, the number on a scale. But what we should be focusing on are the behaviors that precede those results. I believe that there are no high-performance people, and said that there are only high-performance habits. And so I'm going to share with you some of the details that I've learned from those books and some of the results that I've had. So I've been thinking about the big differences that little things make. How much can a tiny 1 degree difference make? Now imagine if you're traveling and you are off course by just 1 degree. After 1 foot, you'll miss your target by 0.2 inches. Sounds trivial. After a mile, you'll be off by 92.2 feet. 1 degree starts to make a difference. After traveling from San Francisco to LA, you'll be off by 6 miles. And if you're traveling around the globe from Washington, D.C., you would miss it by 435 miles or 700 kilometers. You would end up in Boston. So over time, a tiny 1 degree error and course makes a huge difference. And the same applies to our habits. But instead of 1 degree, I'll be focusing on 1%. Tiny changes in our habits can change the trajectory of our lives in ways that we can't even notice until many years down the road. You are your habits. Another way to say this is we become what we think about. What we think about most becomes a belief that feeds into our paradigms or habits which reside in our subconscious mind, which drives 95 to 99% of your daily behavior. Now, a reminder, a paradigm is a mental program, like an app on your phone, that has almost exclusive control over your, guess what, your habits. And almost all of your behavior is habitual. A slight change in your daily habits can guide your life to a very different location. We often will convince ourselves that massive success is only possible through massive action. But the reality is it's the tiny improvements that are not noticeable at first that create massive change. As a coach, you can truly help your clients become 38 times better in 1 year. Not 38%, not just 100%, but 38 times better. So I'll share with you the math. 1% better every day. And ask yourself, can I get better 1% better every day? And the answer is yes. So 1% better every day for a year will compound to almost 38 times. 37.78 is the exact number. 1% worse every day for a year will bring you close to zero. Your habits can compound against you in the form of things like limiting beliefs, negative self-talk, fear, procrastination, or they can compound for you in the form of things like higher confidence, greater productivity, and improved relationship. Success is the product of daily habits, not once-in-a-lifetime transformations. The truth about progress. When you start any endeavor in your life, what we think should happen is linear progress. If I go to the gym for a month, I now expect to have six-pack abs. If I eat a salad for a week, I should have lost 25 kilograms. But what actually happens is that the small changes in our progress are not even noticeable. Just like when you plant a seed, we don't see any changes right away. You say many times that the truth is not always in the appearance of things. This part of habit building, where we are not seeing results, is referred to as the valley of disappointment. And this is why it's important to hold your image, stay in that elevated emotion, and do not be overly concerned with how long it takes. You've been practicing the sales script, reading the personal development books, attending every six-figure mentoring call that we've had to date, and yet you're saying, I'm not seeing any results. And you think to yourself that there really is no difference between the before pictures and the after pictures. And this is where most people fail and slip back into their old routines. The most powerful outcomes of any compounding process are delayed. Hold the faith and hold the image. Keep sowing if you're not in the harvest season. Time is not your enemy. Lack of faith is. So let's talk about goals versus systems. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. So forget about goals. Focus on the systems instead. A goal is the outcome or the result that you want to accomplish, and you should have them. But systems deal with the processes that lead to the outcomes or the results. Systems are the habits you will create. Conventional wisdom suggests that the best way to achieve anything we want in life, getting better in shape, building a successful business, spending more time with our family, is to set specific goals. We've all heard or seen the acronym SMART or SMARTer goals. But the question is, what if you completely ignored your goals and focused only on your systems? Would you still succeed? And the answer is yes. Here are some problems with only having a goal. Successful and unsuccessful people share the same goal. You both applied for the same VP role, but only one of you got it. You all trained for years and competed in the Olympics, but there can only be one gold winner. So therefore, goal cannot be what differentiates a winner from the loser. The other problem with focusing on a goal alone is achieving a goal only changes your life for a moment in time. Goals can create an either-or conflict. Either you achieve the goal and are successful, or you don't, and now you're a loser or a failure, or feel that way. Even if you are making progress in the right direction, when you achieve a goal, what do you do next? So, for example, I had a goal of running a few marathons, and after completing them, my motivation quickly faded. I slipped back into my old routines. I put on a lot of weight, felt depressed, and lost my confidence. So goals are good for creating filters and setting a direction. They're like a compass. But systems are best for making progress. Using a system of atomic habits. The problem with changing your habits is not you. You are not broken. You don't need to be fixed. You already have what it takes to get the results you desire. You may not know how at this very moment, but it doesn't mean that you can't learn how. You may not get it right the first time, but it does not mean that you won't get it right the next time. The reason why you repeat the same bad habits for so long isn't because you don't want to change, but because you have the wrong system for change. So just as atoms are the building blocks of molecules and compounds, atomic habits are the building blocks of remarkable results. Now, there are three layers of or approaches to changing your behavior. The first layer is changing your outcome. This level is concerned with changing your results, changing the number on a scale, publishing the book. The second layer is changing your process. This level is concerned with changing your habits or your system. For example, decluttering your desk for better workflow, optimizing your environment to make the cue, the trigger associated with your good habits more obvious. And then there's the third layer, which is changing your identity. This level is concerned with changing your beliefs, your worldview, your self-image, your self-talk. Most of the beliefs, your assumptions, and biases that you hold are associated with this level. Outcomes are about what you get. Process is about what you do. Most people focus on the outcome and stare at the scoreboard. But the best way to change your habits is by focusing on a person that you want to become. This is the identity change. And we're not asking you to become somebody else. We're asking you to become the best version that already exists inside of you. All three levels of behavior change can work, but changing from the inside out is more likely to be effective. You see, the goal isn't to learn to play an instrument. It's to become a musician, the identity. The goal isn't to run a marathon. It's to become a runner. And the goal isn't to do a talk. It's to become a speaker. When something you desire in your life becomes part of your identity, that is when your behaviors will naturally change. Every behavior or every action that you take, look at it as a vote for or vote against the identity or the person that you wish to become. And like any election, it doesn't have to be unanimous. You just need to do the thing a majority of the time. Every time you write a sentence for your book, guess what? See yourself as a writer. Every time you speak in front of a group, see yourself as a speaker. And every time you delegate effectively, see yourself as an empowering leader. Now, what is a habit? There are many different definitions, so I'll give you the one that I'm using for this talk. Basically, a habit is a solution to a recurring problem in your environment. It is something that you've done so many times that the subconscious mind has taken over and now does it automatically. Ultimately, what we want our habits is to solve the problems in our lives with the least amount of effort or friction. A habit is formed and reinforced by means of this continuous feedback loop that has 4 steps. And the 4 steps are cue, which is a trigger, craving, a response, and a reward. Another way of saying that is noticing, wanting, doing, and having. And to be more successful, you want to take those 4 parts and you want to kind of look at them as levers. So you want to make them obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying. And I'm going to break those down for you right now. The key to creating the habits that stick is to create feedback loops that are continuously being improved. It's not your fault that you inherited the habits that you have from your parents and from the people around you. But it is your responsibility to ask better questions in terms of, is this habit still serving me? Is this habit the optimal way of doing things and getting the results that I have? So how can we influence the habit loop to work for us? Law number 1, make the cue obvious. Cues are triggers. They can be anything. It could be a smell, a sound, a sight, a person, a location, or an object in your room or office. You may not even be aware that most cues are subconsciously being triggered. A TV commercial, for example, signals that you're hungry. A simple hand soap commercial might trigger that you lack happiness. A car commercial will signal that you're not enough. So most of the current habits are so automatic that you don't even realize them. You first have to become aware of your habits before you can change them. You can achieve that by creating what's called a habit scorecard. And a habit scorecard is basically you write down all of your habits on the scorecard from the minute you wake up until the minute you go to bed. Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So a scorecard could look like, when I wake up, I check my phone, I have a cigarette, I grab coffee, I watch news, take the dog for a walk, watch more news. Another scorecard could look like, I wake up, I put the phone in another room until noon, brush my teeth, meditate on my intentions for the day, listen to positive affirmations, do my health shake, exercise, and then shower. As you write these habits down, you're going to kind of mark them as positive, negative, or neutral. And at this stage, you're not interested with trying to change anything. You're simply observing what is actually going on in your daily life. Vagueness is a real problem when it comes to habit formation. And studies have shown that quite often the reason most people fail to stick to a habit is not because they lack motivation. It's because they lack clarity. Saying that one day I will get into shape is easy to say, but it's very vague and it doesn't create any momentum. To help with clarity, use what's called an implementation intention. What you need is a time and a place for your habit to live. The most common cues are time and location. For example, say every Saturday morning at 8 Eastern, I will attend a six-figure session. That's very clear. So clearly state your intention to act by using the following formula. I will do X behavior at X time in X location. Another way to increase your success is to use what's called habit stacking. You stack your habits, and you do this by tying a desired habit to an existing habit according to the following formula. After your current habit, I will do the new habit. For example, if you want to get into the habit of flossing your teeth, after I brush my teeth, I will floss. Take the floss out, make it visible. Or maybe after I turn the coffee machine on, I will do push-ups while the coffee is brewing, and then I will read Atomic Habits. So you're stacking habits. This is something that I do all the time as an example, and you want to stack it with something that you want to do or create as a new habit. So choosing the correct trigger, the cue, is essential. You need a trigger, a cue, something obvious, something that you do automatically without fail every day. Remember, motivation and willpower are important, but they are highly overrated. Willpower and motivation will fail 100% of the time over time. So we're more influenced by our environment than our motivation or willpower. It's hard to stick to positive habits in a negative environment. Environment is the invisible hand that shapes human behavior. If you want your habits to be a big part of your life, then you need to make the habits a big part of your environment. If you want to drink more water, make the cues visible. Place water bottles around the house in places that you're likely to see them. My group in Milan, for example, they use open spaces, and they all wanted to get into the habit of drinking water. So what they do is when one person goes to drink, they'll yell out, I'm drinking, I'm drinking. That becomes the cue for the rest of the group to drink. Context is the cue. Objects in your environment do not determine your behavior. Rather, it's the relationship to those objects that does. So stop seeing your environment as a place simply filled with neutral objects. They're not. Imagine it as a place filled with relationships to those objects. The couch in the living room is the place where one person reads for an hour at night. For another person, is where they watch Netflix and then relax after work. So if your relationship with your couch is a place to relax, then don't try to do work there, because trying to do a work-related task on that couch and that environment is going to be very difficult. So try to make separate zones in your house for different activities, even if you have a studio apartment. Use the mantra that says one space, one use. Bad habits. If you're trying to eliminate a bad habit, don't rely on self-control. A more reliable solution to eliminate a bad habit is to make the cue invisible from your environment. So for example, if the phone is something that distracts you, put your phone in another room if you're trying to get work done or if you're trying to get sleep. Put junk food out of sight or remove it from your house if you're trying to lose weight. Law number 2 is make the craving attractive. When we expect to be rewarded, we take action. The more rewarding an action is, the more likely we are to repeat it until it becomes a habit. So the next step to forming a good habit is to make them more attractive. And this is how understanding dopamine will help you a little bit. The dopamine and feedback loops. Dopamine impacts our motivation. And not only does it rise after we receive the reward, it also rises in anticipation of it. Another way to increase the odds of your success is to use a strategy known as temptation bundling. Temptation bundling process makes a habit more attractive by combining an action that we need to do with one that we want to do. So for example, you could bundle watching Netflix, something that you want to do, with working out, something that you need to do. And that's because more probable behaviors will reinforce less probable behaviors. The role of family, friends, and others with your success. We are continually seeking approval or wondering what will others think of me, and altering our behavior based on the answer. Oftentimes, we would rather be wrong and accepted in the tribe than right and feel like an outcast. If you're trying to build a new habit, one of the best ways to reinforce the habit is to find and become part of a group where the desired habit is the norm for that group. If you want to read more, join a book club. Primitive motivators. These are the underlying source of our cravings. In your normal everyday life, you wouldn't say something like, I want to eat pizza because I need to consume this food to survive. That's a surface level craving, and the surface level cravings are merely manifestations of our deeper underlying primal motives. I'll give you a couple of examples. Obtaining food, water, conserving energy, finding love and reproducing, connecting and bonding with others, winning social acceptance and approval, or achieving status and power. Those are those primitive motivators. Your habits are modern-day solutions to those primal desires. They're new versions of the old vices. The underlying motive behind human nature remains the same. So reprogramming your brain to enjoy hard habits, one way of doing that is by learning to reframe things. You can make hard habits more attractive if you can learn to associate them with a positive experience. By highlighting the benefits of a habit rather than its downside can make it seem more appealing. For example, if you want to learn to meditate, don't look at it as meditation is just sitting and doing nothing. Instead, reframe it as meditation is an opportunity for me to reprogram my body for growth and repair. The inverse of law number 2 is to make it unattractive if you're trying to break a bad habit. To break a bad habit, do the same thing, but highlight the benefit of not doing that habit. For example, I used to be so addicted to watching TV and the news. I reframe how I look at the TV. Now I call it, for me, I'm not making a judgment on anyone, but I call my TV the devil's box. And I will calculate the opportunity loss when I watch TV. So instead of watching TV, I'll learn something, a new skill, enhance an old skill, learn a new trait, whatever it is, instead of watching TV. So it's not that I don't watch TV at all. I just substantially watch less TV than what I used to. Law number 3 is to make it easy. You want to master the art of showing up before scaling up. How long does it actually take to form a new habit? During habit formation, a behavior becomes increasingly automatic as it is repeated. As you repeat an activity, your brain literally changes to become more efficient at it. Repetition is known as a powerful tool for establishing habits. It's not the number of days, it is the number of repetitions over time that matter. So framing habit formation in terms of the number of days is flawed. It should be framed in terms of number of repetitions. You create a new neural network and connections when you learn something new. And every time you repeat them, you maintain or glue those connections, which allows for memory to take place. You've heard the expression, nerve cells that fire together, wire together. Reducing friction by applying the law of least effort. The more energy required, the less likely it is to happen. It takes almost no energy to get into the habit of reading one page of a book each day compared to reading for an hour. So we want to find ways to reduce friction when you're trying to establish a new habit, and you want to find ways to increase friction when you want to eliminate bad habits. Your environment, priming the environment for use. By automating or setting up your environment, you can reduce the friction for future action. For example, you'll say, I will lay out my running clothes the night before, so when I get up in the morning, I can go out for a run. I will do automatic payroll investing or savings. Or I will only buy single-digit carb foods and prepare them in advance. Environment is also the people you surround yourself with. Using the 2-minute rule to stop procrastinating and to start the habit cycle. Another way to decrease friction is using the 2-minute rule. It can help you establish some small habits that will lead to habit momentum and success in your bigger goals. Find a simple, scaled-down version, 2-minute version of your desired habit. So, for example, running a marathon becomes putting on your shoes and stretching for 2 minutes. Instead of trying to start reading an hour a day, it becomes reading 1 page. After you have mastered the 2-minute rule, then you can progress to the next level. You're trying to master, again, the art of showing up. The inverse of law number 3, which was make it easy, is to make it more difficult when it comes to a negative habit. Think about ways you can create barriers of friction between yourself and the negative habit. For example, I mentioned place the phone in the other room while you're working. Move the social media app on your phone to the back pages, the home page. If you want to watch less TV, unplug the TV after you use it. Put the remote in the closet or remove the batteries. Those all add friction. Law number 4 is to reward, make it satisfying. This is most important rule of behavior change, a feeling of pleasure as a message to the brain that this feels good. Let's repeat this next time. So when you experience pleasure, your brain learns that a behavior is worth remembering and repeating. This is where we must learn to help program our subconscious mind by taking your thoughts, your idea, and mix them with that elevated emotion. What is immediately rewarded is repeated. What is immediately punished is avoided. So the first 3 habit laws, cue, craving, response, increase your chance of doing the habit this time. The last law, the reward, increases your chance of repeating it the next time. There is a mismatch between immediate and delayed returns. The cost of a good habit are in the present. The cost of a bad habit are in the future. So we must be willing to sacrifice an immediate reward for the ultimate reward. How to stick to good habits every day. The vital thing in getting a good habit to stick is to feel successful, even if it's in a small way. The feeling of success is a signal that your habit paid off and that the work was worth the effort. How to recover quickly when you break your habit. We're all going to have a bad day. We're all going to fall from grace. We get it, life happens. Know that a missed day will hurt you more than successful days will help you. A way to help you recover from a missed day is using this mantra. Don't break the chain of continuity and never miss twice. So I always remind myself, don't break the chain and never miss twice. So try not to miss a day. Don't break the chain. But if you do miss, never miss twice. On a bad day, it's better to do 10 sit-ups instead of your normal 50 than not to do them at all. It's better to read 1 page than your normal 20 pages than not to read at all. The inverse of law number 4 is making it unsatisfying. Having an accountability partner can change everything. So, for example, you say to Shelly, hey, Shelly, we agree that we're going to be on this call every Saturday. If I miss, I owe you $10. And if you miss, you owe me $10. Creating a habit contract. You can create a habit contract either verbally or in writing to hold yourself accountable, which makes it clear that you will honor a particular habit and that there will be punishments if you don't. So I can create a habit contract with Nadidi. I can create a habit contract with David. So this way they hold me accountable. So now I'm going to share with you how I have personally been using this book to build systems around my habits for the last 2 years. And I've mentioned I've been having this as masterminds, at least for the last 2 years, and I've seen phenomenal changes, not just in me, but in other people. So by using the habit tracker for push-ups, I was barely able to do 2 push-ups when I started. Now I've done a maximum of 180 push-ups in one session, and what I do now is 125 push-ups every day. I've been doing it literally for 346 days as of today. I've also been doing arm curls and arm lifts for as many days. By using the material in this book and experimenting, I've lost 72 pounds so far. I used to have a Waterford crystal on my stand-up desk next to me, and I saw that as, at the end of the day, it's a reward for you to have a glass of wine or a cocktail. Now, some of these things will not work if you actually have an addiction. It might have an impact, but it may not entirely work. And what I did just to experiment with the book, because I didn't always believe everything I was reading, I took the glass, which was visible, I moved it to the other side of the house. And guess what happened? By moving it to the other side of the house, it wouldn't trigger, it wasn't a cue, so I stopped drinking. So again, I don't have a drinking problem. I drink as a reward, but it went away. My wife loves her M&Ms. She moved the M&Ms from the bowl that she had on her counter and stopped having them. Instead, what we did, we took a bowl and filled it with those cherry tomatoes, and guess what we're eating all the time? The cherry tomatoes. And it's not because we're so disciplined. It's because the environment has been changed. It's because the cue is so obvious and there's no friction. It's easy to do. I love my donuts. I move my donuts into the freezer. Now, if I want to have a donut, I can have a donut. But there's too much friction. Number one is out of sight. The cue is not visible. And number two is too many steps. I have to pull it out. I have to unfreeze it, so it's not worth it. I talk myself out of it. I taught myself how to swim much better by repetition. So repetition doesn't mean you're going to get it right the first time or the first 50 times, but you will get better over time. Your subconscious mind will kick in and says, I now know what you're trying to do. I can do this better. And I've also read over 100 books in the last 2 years just by using the material of this. I mentioned TV. I don't watch live TV, and I haven't watched news in over 4 years. And I use very little social media. So those are the things that I've learned and what I'm applying. And then just one more story that I want to share with you. I was coaching a group in Brazil, and on the video, there's one gentleman who, in the corner of his room, I always saw a guitar, and I asked him about, do you play the guitar? And he said, no, but I would love to learn to play the guitar. So as a result of this book in coaching and mentoring, we encouraged them to move that guitar to the center of the room. By the time we were done with the book, he was actually better at playing chords, and he played a song for us using the guitar. So again, anything that you want is possible. You already have everything that you need. You just have to be committed to doing it. And I believe that reading this book, getting this book, is going to help you substantially develop different strategies, different approaches or tactics that are going to help you with your outcomes and help you eliminate the so-called negative habits.